Hey, what's up, y'all? This is William, the Permaculture Consultant, and today we're going to be doing our very first permaculture Q&A. Now, if you don't know, if you want, permaculture questions answered or homesteading questions, whatever, if you want them answered, then leave it down in the comments below with the hashtag permaculture Q&A at the beginning of your comment. Makes it easier for me to find, less likely I'll miss it, stuff like that. So, yeah. If you want them, if you have any questions, permaculture Q&A, leave it down below in the comments and let's get started. Alrighty, first question from Colleen Bowman. We had negative 26 degrees this winter. Will fruit and nut and figs handle this cold? Figs probably will not handle that extreme cold. I remember where you are. Figs aren't going to work there. But there are plenty of apple and pear and plum varieties, as well as walnut trees. Those do well in those areas. You can also do grapevines, stuff like that. There are plenty of species that will do well in your area. If you go to like an online bare root nursery and you type in, most of them have an option to type in your USDA growing zone. Type that in and it should give you a bunch of options that are available that'll do well in your area. Alrighty, now we're in the garden area because the next question is from HCG Des Moines. What is the plan for weeding with all of that clover in the way? Won't the clover overtake the plants? So I think he's referring to the garden in which I used clover as a cover crop. Now, this is going to work as a symbiotic relationship with the other plants that I have growing in here. They won't be in competition because the other plants, like let's say I'm putting in like that rosemary over here or the rosemary that I did in the last video. If there's clover in the way, then I'll just pull that clover out and replace that spot with the rosemary. It's not in competition with each other. In fact, the clover will be fertilizing my plants directly. They'll be capturing atmospheric nitrogen, putting it down into the soil, and it'll be available to my plants. It's also acting as a living mulch. So it's a complete symbiotic relationship. It's not a competition at all with them. And also, as a living mulch, it's going to be constantly putting down exudates down into the soil and feeding my soil microbes, which in turn are going to provide as much nutrients to the plants as needed. While we're here, I'll go ahead and answer the other question as well. Growing on less than 2, I don't have any examples here for you, but growing on less than 2, I would love to expand my shade-loving plants. Any suggestions? I guess it largely depends on where you are, but some of the areas or some of the plants that worked well, like in pretty moderate climates, pretty temperate climates, I should say, are like black currants. They do well in shade. In fact, they don't like the sun at all. You could also do, if you're looking for something that is visually pleasing and also smells very, very good, but doesn't provide any food, Daphne odera smells absolutely amazing, and they bloom very early spring, and it's a wonderful smell. Hope that helps for, and that was for growing on less than 2. This one is for my man, Kenneth Sword, Mr. Wu-Tang over there. You see him in every video down in the comments. He's asking, do acidic loving plants determine my placement? Example being blueberries next to non-acid loving plants. So basically, do I situate my plants in like an acid loving bed or an alkaline loving bed or anything like that? And the general answer, the quick answer is no, I don't care at all. This right here is a brand new blueberry. You can see, I'm grabbing it, it's in the video. This right here is a brand new blueberry. Directly on either side of it, I have 2 strawberries. And over here, I have oregano, and then over here, I have a full-blown apple tree. These all have different soil preferences for the most part. And the reason I don't care, and also clover as a ground cover, and the reason I don't care about the specific requirements of that plant is because it's not really my job to care. It's the soil microbes' job to care, because every time this plant releases exudates down into the soil, it's a recipe book for the plants and for the microbes, and it tells them exactly what this plant needs. That microbe goes and eats it, it brings it back, it then gets eaten by a predator microbe, and then the poop is the fertilizer for the plant right here. Which also goes to show you that like even your plants aren't vegan. These things aren't even vegan. Why should you be? But yeah, so that's basically the general answer. And if I were to take a pH test, if I were to take a pH test and test this spot right next to this blueberry, and then I test just the other side of the blueberry, chances are I'm going to get very different pHs if I test the exact spot. The pH, the nutrients available, all of that stuff is very site specific because it's a direct exchange between the poop of the the predator microbes and this plant. It's on demand versus it just being in the soil free floating. Does that make sense? That's a very general statement, but that's why I don't care about that. It's not my job to care, it's the soil microbes' job to care, and my job is to take care of the soil microbes and make sure that those are fed, protected, and multiplied. Now the next question, Lori Flarson, why are your beds east and west? As you can see, my beds are east and west right now. Directly that way is south. The direction I'm facing is north right now. And the reason that these are east and west has really nothing to do with the sun. There are benefits in letting the entire bed get the equal amount of sun exposure, but the reason mine are east and west is that's because that's what the general contour line was for this property over here, or for this piece of property over here. If you look down at like a topographical map and you see those lines on your topographical map, those are contour lines. Those lines indicate the exact same elevation throughout the length of that line. Everything on that line is perfectly level with anything else on that same exact line. That's what these beds are, generally. So what that allows that to do is the rain falls, it hits the ground, creates runoff, and these beds capture it. Instead of letting it flow down to the sides or anything like that, or pushing it away from the garden, it will capture water when the beds need it, and it will move water out of the way when they're full. We get some torrential downpours down here in Texas, so I need to account for like all the water all at once sometimes. That's the reason behind it. The next question is from Austin Luckstead 1252. Should I plant anything edible between my property and the traditionally sprayed monocrop? Planning on planting a windbreak. The windbreak would be awesome. If that's where your predominant wind is coming from, if it's coming off the conventionally sprayed monocrop, then planting a windbreak would be helpful, but you also need to have the proper spacing between windbreaks. So just putting in one windbreak like on your fence line like this right here isn't going to keep the overspray off of, let's say, the center of your property, depending on the layout and stuff like that. There are calculations to find out how frequent your windbreak needs to be in order to keep the overspray off your property. But I would also say that, yes, you should still grow food for yourselves as well. And I would give it this caveat. It depends on what they are growing. And it also depends on what you are growing. For example, my brother-in-law, his grandfather has like 6,000 acres over in Oklahoma, and they do conventional corn. Now, he doesn't have much of an incentive to spray. And the reason behind it is that if he spends the extra money on the pesticides or the herbicides or whatever it is, that's less profit he makes on two different products that he makes. He sells corn to Tyson and Pilgrim and all that, like for feed, and he also turns whatever isn't the best stuff into silage. Now, he can turn everything he grows into silage and still make a very good profit. So it doesn't make sense for him to spray or spend the extra money to get a higher dollar whenever he's making an amazing profit just off the silage itself. And there's less effort, and you make less profit off the feed if you start spraying the way a lot of other people do for feed. So that's the long answer. Also, if you are concerned about the overspraying getting on your produce, like for fruit trees, for example, you can just wash off the fruit with chlorine dioxide, and then that'll remove any of the glyphosate and stuff like that. Keep in mind that the tree is a super long straw and filter before it hits the fruit itself. So, you know, less chance that it's actually going to make it inside the food. And with the rest of your like garden varieties and stuff, I would still go ahead and plant them. Just make sure you wash them off with something like chlorine dioxide. It completely oxidizes glyphosate and all that stuff. So yeah, check it out. You're also probably gonna have to use DuckDuckGo or some sort of search engine like that to find out more information about chlorine dioxide. Alrighty, now the last question, as I'm walking towards the back of the property, the last question I have for this video, and by no means is this gonna be the last video. I will get to everybody's questions, just give me time. I don't wanna make this video too doggone long. But the last question is from NDXR1309. What are your plans for these tires over here? Now, I have a couple different options. These sizes were all picked out for an earthship. We were originally going to build an earthship out here before we moved to North Carolina. We already started harvesting the tires, and in fact, the tires are in the layout of a smaller earthship right now. None of them have been pounded or anything like that, but you can see the outline over there. I would love to build an earthship out here. It's just not anywhere near a top priority or anything like that. So that begs the question, what am I going to do with these tires? And I haven't completely decided yet. I do need to get them stacked and organized, especially before summer hits and before they start getting inhabited with black widows and snakes. I need to get them stacked up and put aside. I was thinking about using them for a couple of retention features in the road that I need to expand back here. I can use them on the downhill side of a retaining wall or anything like that. Like I said, they can easily be turned into 300-pound bricks and stacked, or stacked and then turned into 300-pound bricks. So there's that ability. I do plan on using them for something like that. I'm not going to get rid of them or anything like that. So yeah, there's that. That's probably not the answer a lot of people wanted to hear, but I will be keeping the tires and probably, hopefully, getting more in the future. I hope this video was helpful for you guys. I hope it answered you guys' questions. If you guys have any more questions, leave it down below in the comments with the hashtag PermacultureQA, and I will get to them in a future episode. Also, I wanted to give a big shout out to a YouTube channel called Knife Center. Obviously it's a YouTube video channel about knives, and that's where I got this idea for a video concept. The Permaculture Q&A, they do a video every once in a while called Knife AQ, and that's where they start answering all your questions about knives and stuff like that. So big shout out to Knife Center. Check them out. If you're looking to purchase any knives or anything like that, check out Knife Center or Blade HQ. I like both of those guys, but everybody should take the pilgrimage to Smoky Mountain Knife Works, the world's largest knife store in the world. It is awesome. So thank you guys so much for watching. Until next time, I'll see you.